Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the city of Leeds and to the second video in the series, the mini-series around Aberford. Today, it's Lotherton, cum Aberford. Lotherton cum Aberford is a civil parish in the city of Leeds and the second in the Aberford series. The population of the area includes that of Parlington. At the 2011 census, that was 323 in total, with 87 of those residing within Parlington's boundaries. We're beginning this one in Lotherton, situated on the B1217 between the M1 motorway at junction 47 and the village of Towton in Selby. The parish contains the southeastern fringes of the village of Aberford, as well as easily the largest landmark here, Lotherton Hall. Lotherton Hall is a country house which is one of 9 sites in the Leeds Museums and Galleries group, and there's plenty here. Okay, so I went round the houses a little bit to get into Lotherton Hall. Obviously it's private, so I wasn't totally sure whether or not I'd be able to get in here. But in a roundabout way I have actually managed to do it. I went to see the management. It was originally in the cafe where I went. The guy on the gatehouse sent me to the wrong place. Eventually found the person I was after, and they said, yep, this is absolutely fine, you can take any shots of the exterior, you know, so I can get as much of Lotherton Hall as I like, basically. So there it is, there's the building in question. As well as the hall, there's also a chapel, by far the oldest building at Lotherton, and it dates back to at least the 1100s. It's the only remaining building from the former village of Lotherton that's long since disappeared. The village was to the north of the chapel. Everything else around it was built much later, including the hall, although there has been a manor house on the site of the current hall from at least 1775, where it appears on Thomas Jeffery's map of Yorkshire. It has some pretty extensive grounds and gardens which I was allowed to walk around and investigate. In some ways, these were more interesting than the buildings, and you'll see why. In the 1700s, the hall was owned by Thomas Maud, who had bought it from George Rhodes in 1753 for £4,115. Ownership would eventually pass to John Raper, before upon his death in 1824, his son and heir, also named John, sold the property to Richard Oliver Gascoigne in 1825. It would become the main residence of the Gascoigne family after the death of Richard's father Frederick at Parlington Hall in 1905. It has a terrace garden at the front of it, designed by William Goldring, a landscape gardener, in 1902 and 1903. Between 1914 and 1918, the hall was used as a VAD hospital. The chapel was also used as part of it. The hall is sited on part of the Gascoigne estate and was presented to the city of Leeds in 1968 by Sir Alvery Gascoigne and his wife, last of the Gascoigne family, whose roots were at Parlington Hall. The hall and parkland were opened for public access by its new owners in 1969, exactly 25 years after Sir Alvery Gascoigne's only son and heir, Douglas Gascoigne, was killed in a tank battle in Normandy. Walking around the grounds was every bit as interesting as the interior of the hall. In fact, there was one point where I stumbled across a gravestone, and what this led to was quite amazing. Okay, I've just found something really interesting in the grounds of Lotherton Hall. Look at this, it's a grave, and it's to Scarborough. Born on the island of Scarborough, November 1891, died Lotherton, March 1905. But look at this, look. Faithful friend and companion for 14.5 years. I think this is a dog. I think this is the grave of a dog. I don't think it's a human. I definitely think for 14.5 years, I'd be very surprised. I was bang on with my assertion. Not too far away is this, a pet cemetery, All of the graves here belong to the Gascoigne's dogs. There are 10 in total, 9 here and the one under the tree. The hall is licensed to hold weddings and civil partnership ceremonies. It was extensively rebuilt during the Victorian and Edwardian eras, and when I visited, the main building was empty as it was being cleaned. Ordinarily, it holds an art collection and around 3,000 objects that come from 5 collections. The Gascoigne gift, less than a third of the collection, was given in stages between 1955 and 1979. Okay, so here's a map of the Lotherton estate, as it were. So the hall is this building right here with the chapel just there, and basically all I've done effectively is I've walked from here down into the courtyard area, which is this is where I originally went, and they told me to come to the hall instead of seeing their manager. I blame the guy in the gatehouse for that. Anyway, so then obviously I've come around here, around the gardens, and then to finish off in a minute I'm going to go up here and loop around this part. I haven't explored this bit yet, and then come back for the toilet and then out via Copley Lane up here. That's Lotherton. The beautiful Edwardian gardens cover an impressive 8 acres. I've no idea what this would have been used for, but it's very similar to the Greek temple in Clumber Park. There's an orchard too, planted in 2005 in partnership with the Northern Fruit Group. There are 109 varieties of trees, including many from the Yorkshire region. A meandering path through the trees gets you close to the beautiful blossoms in the springtime and the apples at harvest time. The estate is home to an extensive collection of endangered bird species. Lotherton has something called a bird garden, which is where they all live. There's a large expanse of grassland in front of the bird garden, typically used during the summer months for ball games and picnics. A further field is often used to host shows, such as an annual motorcycle show. Here's the entrance to Wildlife World. This is Lotherton's zoo. It tells the story of the world's natural heritage, and it's a continued development of the original bird garden, which has been a part of the estate since the 1980s. And some of the animals, it seems, weren't exactly camera shy. So I wasn't expecting to find a parish notice board here. It's not really a parish notice board, this, it's just a what's on. And the Lotherton Hall and Estate board, really. But you know, it's a board and it can have one of these. I'm sure people that visit Lotherton Hall will be keen to find out a bit more about it from me. If you come here, you're probably going to want some refreshments at some point after all this walking around. You can do that here at the stable courtyard, complete with a cafe and toilet facilities. So that's pretty much it for Lotherton, but don't forget this is Lotherton cum Aberford, and as we learned last week, there's a tri-point in Aberford where the 3 parishes meet. Let's see what falls within Lotherton cum Aberford in the main village. Now to the parts of Aberford which fall within Lotherton cum Aberford's boundaries. This is the ideal time to give you Lotherton cum Aberford's demographics now that we're away from the hall. In fact, this is very similar to Aberford. It covers 11.69 square kilometres and the population density is just 22.34 per square kilometre. Most of the 323 population of the parish live here in Aberford in properties that hug the eastern side of the old Great North Road. That's a population that's 97.9% white British and one that's seen a sharp fall in recent years too, by more than 2.4%. The average house in this part of Aberford isn't available because Zoopla doesn't give data based on parish boundaries. I would imagine though it's very similar to last week's £360,000. This part of Aberford has perhaps the most impressive building we've seen in the village yet, Aberford House, which is a gorgeous 18th century mansion. Aberford House is seen here from the churchyard at St Macarius. Fun fact, there were the remains of a Roman fort found underneath this building. Aberford's lampposts are interesting too. Check these out, they reminded me of a similar venture we've seen before in a village, Cawthorne in Barnsley, where most of them are sponsored. Here's Be Beautiful, one of Aberford's limited amenities. It's a beauty salon, almost right opposite the church and school. Aberford Village Hall was gifted to the village by the Gascoigne family in 1928. The hall has since operated with two types of trustees, management and charitable. This is by far the hub of all activities in the village. The village hall does not receive any payments from public or private bodies, other than any grants that may be applied for. There's also a village hall cafe here, which is open between 10 AM and 3 PM each Friday, and I'm led to believe it's really popular. Just to the south of the main village, opposite Priory Park, which falls within Parlington, is the War Memorial. This is quite a grand structure, listing the names of those from Aberford who died in the World Wars, and it was unveiled in 1922. Okay, there's no picture bit today, owing to the fact that I've pretty much covered it all. I managed to get around the entire Lotherton estate, and yeah, I don't think there's much I've missed at all. If there is, you know what to do. You need to let me know down there in the comments. But yeah, that's the parish of Lotherton cum Aberford. There's one left in this little mini series, and that's Parlington, and that will come your way next week. But for now, this has been the parish of Lotherton cum Aberford, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.